The shadow moved, but she didn't. Some shadows follow. Others lead you where you should never go. It was evening. The kind of evening that hangs heavy in the air, thick with unspoken promises and secrets. The streetlights flickered on, one by one, casting long, distorted figures on the pavement. A lone woman walked down the deserted street, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Her name was Ilara, and she was heading home, a journey she'd made 1,000 times before. But tonight was different. Tonight, the silence wasn't peaceful. It was watchful. She clutched her coat tighter, a sudden, inexplicable chill running down her spine. It wasn't the autumn air. It was something else, something she couldn't name. She quickened her pace, the rhythmic click-clack of her heels, the only sound in the world. Or so she thought. She glanced down, a casual, fleeting look at the familiar, dark shape trailing beside her, her shadow. But something was wrong. Her shadow wasn't trailing beside her. It was walking ahead. It moved with a strange, fluid grace, a silhouette that was hers, but not hers. It was slender where she was not, confident in its stride, where she felt a growing unease. Every step it took was a perfect mimicry of a step she hadn't yet made. It was as if her own intention, her own will to move forward was being preempted, stolen from her a split second before she could act. The street remained empty. No other soul was in sight. No cars passed by to cast deceptive lights. There was only her, the flickering streetlight, and the shadow that walked ahead. She tried to reason with herself. It's a trick of the light, she thought. An optical illusion caused by the angle of the street lamps. But the explanation felt hollow, a weak defense against a rising tide of primal fear. The shadow kept walking, its pace steady, unwavering, leading her down the familiar path toward her home as if it knew the way. As if it had walked this path many times before. The cold feeling intensified, no longer just a chill, but a deep, gnawing dread that settled in the pit of her stomach. She felt an overwhelming urge to run in the opposite direction, but her feet kept moving, as if tethered to the dark figure that danced just beyond her reach. She stopped, abruptly, her shoes scuffed against the concrete, the sound jarring in the profound quiet. She held her breath, her body rigid, a statue carved from fear. But the shadow didn't stop. It continued on, its dark form gliding smoothly over the cracked pavement. It reached the corner of her street, the corner she turned every single night, and without hesitation, it turned. It disappeared from her sight, swallowed by the darkness of the side street. A moment of deafening silence passed. The world seemed to hold its breath with her, and then a whisper torn from her own throat. So quiet it was barely a sound at all. Wait, that's not me. The realization hit her like a physical blow. This was not a trick of the light. This was not her imagination. This was real. Something was terribly, fundamentally wrong. Her own shadow, the constant, silent companion of her entire life, had just abandoned her and walked away on its own. She stood frozen, her mind racing to comprehend the impossible event she had just witnessed. Was she losing her mind? Had the stress of her life finally fractured her reality? She looked down at her feet. There was nothing there, just the pale, illuminated concrete. She was shadowless, a person without a shadow, standing under a streetlight. The absurdity of it was almost laughable, but the terror that gripped her was anything but. Doubt warred with terror. Maybe she had imagined it. A waking dream, a hallucination brought on by fatigue. She had to know. She had to be sure. Compelled by a force she didn't understand, she broke into a run, her heart hammering against her ribs. She rounded the corner, her eyes desperately searching the dimly lit street. There it was, further down, moving away from her. "Hey," she called out, her voice trembling. Wait. The shadow didn't slow, but as she ran after it, something impossible began to happen. It started to change. It grew taller, its form elongating, stretching upwards until it towered over where she stood. Its shoulders broadened, its shape becoming more masculine, more menacing. The familiar silhouette was gone, replaced by something monstrous. A low, guttural whisper slithered through the air, seeming to come from the shadow itself, from the very air around her. "I am what you fear." The voice was a chilling rasp, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. It resonated deep within her, a vibration of pure dread. "I am what you hide." The words were not just heard, they were felt. They clawed at the edges of her mind, digging up memories she had long buried, secrets she had sworn to forget, the shame of a past mistake, the guilt of an unspoken lie, the quiet, gnawing fear of inadequacy she fought against every single day. This thing, this entity, it didn't just know her fears, it was her fears, given form and substance. Her run faltered into a stumbling walk. Her breath came in ragged, shallow gasps. Her vision tunneled, the edges blurring into a vortex of darkness with the monstrous shadow at its center. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through her. This wasn't just a living shadow. It was a predator, and she was its prey. The shadow seemed to sense her terror, to feed on it. A sound echoed down the street, a low, cruel chuckle that had no physical source, yet filled the air completely. It was a sound of pure malice. And then it moved again, but not in a way a shadow should. It detached itself from the ground, hovering for a moment before gliding effortlessly through the wall of a nearby building, leaving no trace, no mark, only the lingering echo of its laughter and the suffocating presence of her deepest secrets laid bare. It moved without her. It didn't need her body to cast its form anymore. It was independent. It knew her secrets. It knew the things she whispered to herself in the dead of night, the regrets that haunted her waking hours. It knew her past, every stumble, every fall, every moment of weakness. It had been with her all along, not as a mere reflection of light and form, but as a silent, patient observer, cataloging her soul. The laughter faded, but the chilling realization remained. She stood alone in the street, trembling, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and horror. How could this be? A shadow is just an absence of light. It has no will, no voice, no memory. It's a physical law. But the laws of physics had shattered tonight on this quiet, suburban street. Then, a new thought, more terrifying than any before, began to form. A cold, dreadful clarity that cut through the panic. The shadow had been with her always. It had seen everything, had felt everything. It knew her better than anyone. Better, perhaps, than even she knew herself. It was the part of her she pushed down, the anger she swallowed, the sorrow she hid behind a smile. All the darkness she refused to acknowledge. She realized it too late. The shadow wasn't just a part asterisk of her. It wasn't just a reflection of her inner darkness. The entity's final whisper wrapped around her, not from the street this time, but from inside her own head. A voice that was both alien and intimately familiar. You cannot escape me, 'cause I am you. It wasn't a separate entity that had been following her. It was her, the truest, darkest version of herself, finally breaking free. The woman she presented to the world was the illusion. The shadow was the reality. The shadow moved. But she didn't. She stood frozen on the pavement, a hollow shell under the flickering streetlight. As her true self, her darkness, walked away into the night, free at last. Was this a dream? A psychotic break? Or did a part of her soul just get up and leave? We may never know for sure, but the story serves as a chilling reminder. Be careful what you hide in the dark. Be careful what you refuse to see in yourself, because some shadows should never be followed. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more mysteries that blur the line between what is real and what is not, because some stories never truly end.